Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We have been working on this 1960 Williams Serenade pinball machine. A gentleman brought us, and we've worked through the mech board in the bottom. We did a video just looking it over, cleaning everything up, and so far it is not running. It's stuck in reset. Whenever you start it up, it just sits there and spins. The score motor spinning around and around and around. A lot of clacking and clanking, but nothing is actually working. So we're now up to the point where we're going to work in the back box of the machine, see if there's something back there keeping it from booting up. We've got the schematics. We've got all of the passion in the world to do it. I think we can pull it off. So I'm going to slide it out from the wall a little bit. Let's look in the back box and see what we need to clean back there. The clacking we're hearing is the first and second player score reset relays. Okay? Now they are all back to zero, but it doesn't know that. Okay, so let's check out the schematics, and hopefully we can understand why it's doing that. Okay, so if you this is a way you can figure out what's going on with your machine. Now it's always kind of the same stuff, but if you've cleaned everything and you're trying to troubleshoot, you're trying to figure it out, this will show you a systematic way of doing it. So we just identified that the one player and two player, first player and second player score reset relays are clacking away, and it just keeps doing that over and over and over again. So why is it doing that? Here is the first player score reset relay. Now let's just not even worry about this one. Let's just look at one. Let's make it as simple as possible. So we just got rid of this whole schematic sheet, and all that we're concerned with is this one little line, right? Because our clue is in the machine. The first player score reset relay is clack, 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 clack. Obviously it's trying to reset the scores. But they're reset, so what in the world, right? Well, one side of the relay is always connected to the transformer. The other side of the relay gets its power if the reset relay is on. So the reset relay must be on. You know, we're hitting start. I'm sure that's pulling in the reset relay. And so it's not just holding on, it's turning on and off, on and off, on and off. Now how is it doing that? With this switch here. So this is an older Williams, so the schematics are a little different than some of the other ones. But basically they're telling you that on the impulse reel of the score motor, there is a switch at 5A that as that score motor turns, every time it gets to 5A, or you know, the impulse wheel on switch 5A is going to make it fire probably 5 times every revolution or something like that, or every half revolution or whatever it is, right? So that's why it's clacking on. It wouldn't come on at all if the reset relay wasn't on. And then if the reset relay was on, it wouldn't get power unless the score motor was turning. So that this switch on the impulse relay, as the score motor turns, would get hit. Now why is the score motor turning? Because the reset relay is pulled in. Okay, and then it gets its power over to here. All right, so it connects through that, and that makes the first player score reset relay. Now to confirm that, we can look at the second player score reset relay. It gets its power through the reset relay and through another switch on the impulse reel, or the score motor impulse. Right? So the reason that is clacking away is because it's going to keep clacking away if the reset relay never turns off. That's what would stop that. So why is the reset relay still on? Because the game thinks that the game hasn't been reset, although it has been reset, right? So we see all the score reels are at 0. So let's look up here. Reset relay. So what turns it on? Well, one side's connected to the transformer, and the other side is connected through a switch on itself. Well, how does that work? How can it turn itself on? It doesn't. It holds itself on. So I'll show you here in a minute. So the reset relay can't get power through itself originally. So let's say it's turned off. Well, then this switch is open. It can't get power to it. So how does it get power to actually reset? Drum unit 0, right? Drum unit open at 0 switches. So notice there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 little switches that are open at 0. So if the game has ever had any score on it, if you've scored 10 points, one of these will be closed. Whenever it rolls back around, and now you're at 100 points, well then that other one's closed. So no matter what your score is, one of these will always be closed. Usually most of them will be closed. So any one of them that's not on 0 will be closed. Well, as soon as you score 0 points, or 10 points, you know what, I guess you could score exactly 10,000 points, and they would all be at 0, and then you could reset the game and it wouldn't reset, because they'd all be at 0. But anyway, the way it gets its power to the reset relay is if the game has already been started at some point. Now, why do they set it up like that? It's so that if it's at 0 and you hit the start button, it doesn't reset everything if you're playing a 2-player game, right? It's so you can play more than one player at the beginning. But anyway, let's say in our situation we've got 10 points, right? So one of these is shut, okay? So when the start trip relay pulls in, it will send power down through here, through one of these drum unit open at 0 switches, and pull the reset relay in. Once the reset relay pulls in, it will hold itself on. But every once in a while, that line will lose power whenever the score motor turns to this position, C and B1. Whenever the score motor gets to that part of the revolution, that will open up, click, just for a second. And when it does that, power will not be going through here anymore, and the reset relay will turn off, which will open this switch, blah, blah, blah. So every time this turns, it kills the power to this. But if one of these switches is still stuck, still not at 0, like it's still resetting, so it's at 9 and now, or it's at 1 and it's trying to get it to turn around all the way to 0 through the score reset relays. If any of the score reels are not at 0, it will still get power through here, and the reset relay will continue to hold on, right? So what is our problem? Well, our problem is one of those drum units must have the switch misadjusted to where even though it's at 0, the switch is still closed. That's almost always your problem. Almost always. On any pinball machine. If it's just sitting there going clack, 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 and it looks like it's at 0, but it's not, usually there's a switch somewhere. On some of the games, they all open at 0. On some of the games, they even close at 0. So it just depends on what it is. But on these, it says right there, open at 0. So we need to look through the 6 score reels and see if we can find one that switch is stuck. Now, we're not just going to look for that switch. We're going to clean them up and make sure everything's working right. But that's ultimately probably going to be the problem. Once those are open, the reset relay will fall out and the game should start. Okay, so the back box doesn't have a ton in it. It's got the 6 score reels on this particular vintage. It's got the replay unit here. I believe this one's been set on free play though, so we haven't even messed with that yet. It has the match unit here, the ball count unit, just simple little steppers. It's got the first player relay, the second player relay. So why do they need those? It's, I guess, so it can score properly. The 1-point relay, the 10-point relay, the 100-point relay, the first player score reset relay, and the second player score reset relay. Now you might say, oh, that's a ton of stuff. And not really. That's not a bunch. And it's all very simple stuff. It just looks crazy because of all of those wires. But it's not that big of a deal, folks. It really isn't. Once you start messing with some, you'll realize it. The reason we do these videos is not to show you exactly what, exactly, if you have this exact problem, do this exact thing. No, we're just showing you techniques So whenever you find your problem, you'll be able to figure it out. Okay, so I pulled one of the reels out, the very first one. Right? And this one's, it's made a little differently than some of the other ones that we've done. Everything is kind of enclosed inside of the score wheel. So I can't tell if this PCB has anything on the back of it. I don't believe it does because there's no wires running to it. Or are they? Or are they? Let's see if we can see the light down in there. Oh yeah, there are wires running to it. Okay, I probably have to take the score reel off. But basically, this little plunger pulls in, and that ultimately is what turns it. Now, as it turns, you have several different switches here that are going to do stuff. So there's this one here. See how it's closed right now. We're at 2. Well, if I can do it without getting my hand caught. We're at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Is it opening each stroke? Yeah, it is. Okay, so it's opening on each stroke, right? So it's open now. And then it closes. Okay, so that's that one. This one must be the one that closes when you're at 9. One of them needs to close at 9 so that it can tell when it needs to roll over to 0. The next one over to 1, actually. So that's 8. Can't tell with the thing on. We'll have to dig into it. But this is the one I wanted to show you. So there's 2 switches there. So we're at 1, 2. See, it's closed, and there's one right behind it that's closed. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. And it opened, but not really. See that little silver blade in there? I think that's called a blade stiffener. And it's bent so that even when the switch opens, it's still touching the other side of the blade and this blade. So that switch is electrically still closed. It never opened. Okay? So it has no way of knowing that it's at 0. That's why the thing is just continuing to reset. Because the reset relay is stuck on, like we were looking at, and it has no way of knowing that it's at 0. Well, how did it stop on 0? You'd think if the reset, the player score reset relay kept going on, that the thing would just keep moving and moving and moving, but no, it stopped at 0. Now, how did it do that? So we'll just look at one of them. This is not the one we're looking at right now, but it's the same thing. This side always has power. How does it get power? Well, it gets power if the player relay is on and you score 100 points, for instance. That's what makes that one move. But when you reset it, the second player score reset relay closes and resets it until an open at 0 switch opens on it. So there's another switch. It's probably that second one that's connected to the same exact thing that we were just looking at. That opened up when it got to 0, so it can no longer send power through that connection to reset it. So it got to 0, that opened, and so it kept sending power, and it's stopping right here. You can't turn it. So it's stuck at 0, as it should be. But the other switch, since it hasn't opened, the reset relay is still stuck on. So one little switch, or in this case, just one little blade from the switch, just a little stiffener on the blade, has got it all jammed up. But there may be more, so I'll take that one apart and we'll get a little closer look at it. So I took the little hairpin clip off the top of it and was able to finagle it out. And so you can see that there are little rivets up here that little blade rides on. And we can see our switches a little better. So yeah, that one opens when it gets the full plunge. Okay. Now it doesn't matter where you put this back in, because what actually shuts the switches are those two little inside cams there, not this top one. Somebody's oiled it a little bit, but we'll clean it up. So that's that switch. Like we said, that one will close at 9 probably. And then that one, that's not good. So it should be more like that. The little stiffener goes with on the, you know, with the one that it's attached to. So once we put that back in, it should shut it again. So I'm going to clean all of those contacts. I use a little file that's old and worn out, just so it's not too aggressive, but other people swear by using like a little piece of business card or something like that to clean it. You don't want to use anything too abrasive because you'll eat up the contact. And then I'm going to use a little bit of light sandpaper on these rivets to clean them up a little bit, and a little bit of synthetic grease, and then we'll pop it back together and make sure that it actuates all of the switches like it should. Okay, so that one and that one had the exact same problem. This one did not, and none of these three did. Whenever you're working on these two, by the way, you'll always find that the first player, the score reels are dirtier and all of that than the second player, because they don't play as many second player games. So they largely just sit there looking pretty. Okay, I also went through and I cleaned the switches on the relays here, just to make sure that the electricity is going to be pumping through there like it should. And I cleaned the switches on these. And I cleaned the switches on these. These are a slightly different little setup. When they pull in, they have these little spring-loaded contacts, I guess, so that I guess they're meant to self-adjust. I've had those before on machines and didn't really have any problems out of them, so those may actually be a better design. I don't know, but we will see. If it doesn't work on this one, I'll hate them forever. So, you know, there was nothing to that. Those are just simple little switches. One thing about the Williams ones, they have a really long throw, so look how far the blade moves. On some of the Gottlieb ones, they just barely move. They'll be almost touching and then barely touch. But it's just different manufacturers made them slightly different. Okay, so that leaves us with really the only thing left, other than maybe cleaning up some Jones plugs. Like these little posts, you know. Maybe we'll clean those up with a little sandpaper. The only thing left is these two stepper units. So this particular one, the ball count unit, you don't even have to remove the wiper if it's working properly. So let's see. So if I push that in, nothing. Probably because it's all the way back. If I push this one in, she's moving. She's moving. And that's as far as she'll go, because it's at the end. That one resets it. So what I like to do is just move to maybe like the second position and then try to reset it. So it'll reset if it's just barely wound up. There is like a clock spring here, I guess you'd call that it's winding. And so you want to make sure that, sure, it'll reset all the way from the end, but will it reset from like halfway? Because it could be that there's not enough tension. Or, I shouldn't say tension, because then you'll start messing with the spring. Don't change the spring, people. Leave the damn spring alone. It's never the spring, people. It's dirt. Okay, so I'm gonna just clean off these rivets by moving this around. You don't even have to take it off. Now on this one, completely different story. You got to take it off because you can't get to the rivets to clean them. Okay. So I'll take that loose and get it where I can get to the front of it and remove that. But since everything's exposed on this one, you don't really have to do that. You have one little switch here. That is yet another open at 0 switch. Now this is the ball count unit, and there is a switch that opens at 0, right? So when the reset relay is pulling in and it's holding itself on and the start trip relay is in, power is coming down through here, and if this 0 open at 0 ball count step up SU, does that be step up? Ball count. Anyway, I think that's the switch. So basically it resets it pulls in the ball count reset coil, which is that one we were just pulling in, but it only has to pull it in once, you know. So when that closes, if the ball count unit is not at 0, wham! It knocks that sucker on. And if that little bar goes all the way back to 0 and opens that switch, wham! It kills the power to it. But the power is still here, right? And the power will still go through those 6 switches. 2 of ours were stuck permanently, or 4 actually, or 2 no 2, 1 on 2 things. We're stuck permanently, so power could always go through there and always hold the reset relay on, which would never allow the start trip relay to fall out because it was stuck in reset. I guess we should look at that. Start trip relay. Oh, you know what? The trip relay is going to be reset by the what is that? Relay bank reset. Right. So the relay bank reset will reset the trip ones if the start relay has been pushed, and once the reset relay turns itself back off. See, that switch is closed. That means that it's normally closed. So when the relay is not energized, that closes. I know it's confusing, people. You got to work through it a little bit. It'll be all right. Okay, so let me work on these 2 stepper units, and then we're about ready to see if that fixed it. Okay, so I've taken it loose with the 4 screws in the back. Took the little wheel off with a pair of pliers. And then I cleaned up the rivets with just a little tiny piece of very non-aggressive sandpaper, just shining it up. Okay. And then I put a little bit of silicone grease on it. This is the stuff we use. Now, if you're going to get any of this, you may be able to just get it at the hardware store. But we sell it on our website too. We've got a link to it. If you go to lionsarcade.com, we have a parts page on there. And we have a whole bunch of stuff like this that we use when we do repairs. If you follow one of those links, usually it takes you to Amazon. Anything you buy on Amazon after you click the link, doesn't even have to be this, it gives us a tip for it. So we appreciate everybody that's doing that. See how it says dielectric? That's what you want. That's the good stuff. Okay, so get you some of that from somewhere. And so I put a light coating of that on it. It's what lubricates it, and it also helps it conduct electricity and helps it insulate from electricity. It's strange stuff. It's like magical. So anyway, I put a little bit of that on there, and then we're going to put the little plate back on. Now, when you put the plate back on, you don't necessarily have to go crazy tightening that thing down. You know, it's not going to come loose turning. So it doesn't have to be nuts, you know. Just tighten it down, a little past finger tight, you know, and you're good to go. We already did the other one. I didn't even have to take it apart. Now, you can take them apart if you want. If you want to get this thing where everything's super shiny, you go right ahead. But I got to charge the customer to do it. And I don't really like doing that anyway. But I'd have to charge them extra to spend extra time making it prettier. So I don't really do that too often. We'll put that back on. And then what I want to do is figure out what the match unit does. I'll bet you think you know, but it may do more than you think that it does. We'll see. Okay, so I got it mounted back in. So notice that there's only one coil on this, and there's no switches back here. So all this does is just move this gear around. The gear is attached to the little plate that moves around. That's why they call it a stepper unit. It makes one step, and it just connects different rivets together. Well, on the back of that board, you can see that the rivets are soldered to specific wires. Some of them are all soldered together. And it goes like that all the way around the board. Okay? And there's more than one set. There's a whole bunch of them, right? So what does that thing do? Well, it's the match unit, so it has something to do with matching the score at the end of the game, right? So let's see what makes it turn. So why would that thing move, right? Let's see if we can find where that's listed. Number match SU. Now I believe that means stepper unit, or it may be step up, right? Step up relay. Number match relay. That jumps over it. So it is the bonus advance relay. Is the only thing that makes it move up. Unless this is written different than I think it is. Yeah, bonus advance relay. So the bonus advance relay. So then let's see what makes the bonus advance relay go forward. The 6 side stand-up switches. So when you hit one of the 6 side stand-up switches, it pulls in the bonus advance relay, and the bonus advance relay, every time it pulls in, makes the match unit step up. So let's see the 6 side. Sally sells seashells down by the seashore. That's Sally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if any of those are hit, which by the way are all the ones that score 1 point, if any of those are hit, it makes that happen. Okay, so that match unit, every time you hit one of those 6 switches, that will end up turning. Okay, so what is it actually used for? If you look through, if you're ever looking, trying to see what those things are looked for, if you look for like the big areas, so this says bonus unit, it's showing you all the rivets on the bonus unit. Selection unit, I don't believe that's it. Second player drum, first player drum, that's score reel stuff. Number match stepper unit disc. Okay. And the ball count stepper unit disc. So power can run through here, through the match disc. It's checking the drums, right? And if it works, it pulls in the first player match relay, which must make you get a free game or a free ball or whatever it's set on, right? So it's used in that. And then, looks like that's all it's used for. Number match step-up disc. It also, of course, lights up the light for the match. Now notice they're not in order. As it moves from unit to unit, they're out of order so that you can't time it and try to figure it out. They don't want y'all cheating. They know that pinball players love to cheat. Boy, they like to cheat more than anything else. If a pinball guy can figure out a way to win a free game by cheating, oh, he'll do it in a heartbeat. That's the whole purpose of the game. All right, yeah, so this one, all it does is match. Sometimes they have them set up where every time it moves, it makes the scores alternate, or this one may not actually. Yeah, on this one, see how it says double when lit, and then it says double when lit over here. Sometimes they'll have it set up where every time that moves, it's what controls that going back and forth, and some other things. But not on this one. On this one, it literally just does the match. Okay, so I'm going to set it back down. It's up on the cart. I'm going to set it back down, and then we're going to see if it's any better than it was at the end of our previous video. All right, folks, so we're going to try it. Now, whenever I clean the score reels, I always leave them on 1 or 2 or something like that so that they all have to reset whenever the next time you power it up. Just so that you know that they're all resetting. Good time to check it, right? I also have the ball count unit not on 0. So let's see if we get anything any different. Boy, we're close. Okay, so I looked, and the switch was stuck. Not the one that was messed up on the other ones. That one inside. I didn't quite have it where it opened whenever it got to 0. So, fix that, and I put them all back to 1. So let's try it again. What do you think? Take a 2. Well, that was a beautiful thing, but then it turned everything off. What's up with that? Are we completely dead? Well, it's not resetting over and over again. Let's try it again. Ah, okay. Well, I think we fixed the score reels, but I think we've got something going on with our game over relay. Boy, it looks like it's going to be so beautiful, doesn't it? Watch the playfield. Wow. I think we've got it resetting. Just not starting. I wonder if it's tilting. The tilt light is on when it starts, but I think that's always on. And it is deducting credits. Got something crashing underneath. Well, I was about to end the video, but I can't leave you hanging like that. I mean, okay, so this is the relay bank. Okay, so there's a bunch of interesting things in a relay bank. You're just going to have to read upside down, people. Look, if I can do it, you can do it, all right? If I can read it upside down, you can read it upside down. So you have the game relay, the start trip relay. That's a famous one. We heard about that one earlier. The game over relay. The first player 1000 relay, the second player 1000 relay, the first player number matched relay, the second player number matched relay, the second coin relay, the first player tilt relay, and the second player tilt relay. So watch what happens when I start it. Watch the first 2 relays at the end there. So they trip, right? We get the game relay and then the start relay. I ran out of credits. We get the game relay tripping, the start relay tripping. It does all its resets, and then the big relay pulls the bank in. Okay, I have tons of credits now. Here we go. So watch the first 2 relays. So the first 2 trip. Okay, but look here at the end. They're tripping too. So the 2 down there are tripping, and the 2 here are tripping, okay? Well, the 2 here that are immediately tripping are the second player tilt relay and the first player tilt relay. So that ain't right. And then the ones down here that are tripping are the game relay, because you're starting a game, and the start trip relay, because you're starting the game, right? Now, another interesting thing. Check out the lock relay that was replaced. It never freaking budges. So that's all of our clues that we need. Okay, so here's the tilt trip relay. We come down here, we've got the first player and second player tilt relay. And interestingly enough, they shouldn't both be able to trip quickly because this first player relay should go back and forth. So it should only be on one or the other. Right? So it may be that it's starting a one-player game and then tilting, and then immediately starting a two-player game and tilting, which kills the machine. The tilt relay is what makes those come on. So somewhere we have a tilt relay. Okay? So the tilt relay, the tilt trip relay is put in place by the, it looks like CWE. I'm thinking, you know how some of them say open at 0? CWE may mean closed when energized. Maybe, I don't know. I'm guessing at that. It probably says on there somewhere. So maybe that closes whenever, well no, why it wouldn't. I don't know. I don't know what CWE means. We'll have to figure that out. But let's say that that's closed. Here's how you tilt it. Obviously, the plumb bob can connect. Or the two shake and roll ball tilt switches. Or the lock relay has a regularly closed switch. So if the lock relay doesn't come on, that switch is closed. When the machine is turned on or you hit start or whatever, it travels through here and bam! Pulls that, which pulls those two tilts in, which ends the game, because on this one, if like player one's tilted, the whole game's over, like it is right now. Okay, so our main problem is the lock relay is not coming on, which has probably been a problem. That's why the gentleman replaced the lock relay. So we need to figure out what turns on the lock relay. Here is the lock relay. It's always connected to the transformer. Okay, now that's the secondary of the transformer. The primary of the transformer, one side connects to the plug. The other side goes through a fuse, and then will only be closed if one of these three things pull in. The coin relay or the 25-cent relay, right? Once that comes in, the lock relay, once it comes on, will hold power to the transformer. So that's the problem that we're getting. Lock relay never comes on. It's doing its thing, bam. So it just killed the power to the primary. Because since the lock relay never pulled in, as soon as the coin relay turned off, all this died. So the coin relay, once we figure all this out, folks, won't you feel so much better because you know how it works? You'll be like, oh, wow, I know how it works. Coin relay's right here. So how are we getting power to that? Replay button switch. So see, we've got power coming around here to here. The replay, I think that's what that means. Replay button switch. That's the front, that's the start button. The replay button switch. If it's closed, I press the button in. And the open at 0 replay stepper unit, if it's closed. So a second ago when I was trying to start it, it's because that switch had opened. It didn't work because there's no credits on the machine. So I went to the back and turned it around, so now there's like 40 credits, so that's closed. Okay, so when I hit start, it connects power through here, through that switch, through the lock relay, which isn't on, right? So it's normally closed, and it's pulling in the coin relay. Well, once I pull in the coin relay, it's connecting this switch, which now sends power up to the primary of the transformer, and away we go. But then the problem is, the coin relay holds itself on while the thing's resetting. As soon as the game relay trips or the score motor turns around, it no longer has power through here. I'm no longer holding the button in, and it drops out. So as soon as it drops out, this is no longer connected, so the transformer doesn't have any power anymore. So what's our problem? We need to figure out what turns on the lock relay. So one side of the lock relay always gets power, and the other side, oh, what do my wondering eyes see? There is a kickoff switch, just like I was talking about. There's a kickoff switch. If that sucker's open, I'm trying not to curse, people. There's children watching. If the kickoff switch has been kicked off, this thing ain't never going to start. So what is a kickoff switch? You ain't going to believe this if you haven't seen it. I mentioned it in a couple other videos and in this one recently. There's no power switch on these really old ones. It says advise location that tapping bottom of cabinet will turn game off completely. Now remember whenever it was resetting on the previous videos and I kept slapping the bottom of it going, why won't it turn off? Why won't it turn off? It's because the thing never turned on. That's why. Now I can see it. It makes perfect sense. I was opening the kick switch when I slapped it. It just wasn't working because it wasn't ever closed. Come on, people. Can't turn off a switch that, if the switch ain't connected, how can... So you kick it. So at the end of the night, it says right there, you have the guy go around and lightly tap the bottom of the machine. So the way they used to do it, they would go around to the machine and literally kick the bottom of the machine. And that's how they'd turn off all the old machines. That was way back. It's a holdover from like the freaking 40s, right? So there is literally a switch called the kickoff switch, so that you can turn the game off by kicking the bottom of the machine. So whenever it kept doing that on the previous videos, whenever it was trying to reset and I was just trying to turn it off, so I was trying to slap the bottom of it, wouldn't work. It's because that switch wasn't ever working. It's got to be screwed up. It's got to be. So I'm going to go get the multimeter and we're going to figure out if it is as screwed up as I think it is. Okay, folks, so there's our whole problem. See the switch? It is actually held open by that post right there. By the way, I unplugged it. That post is pushing this blade way up in the air. Basically, that's what moves whenever you slap the bottom. That pops up a little bit and opens the switch just enough to immediately kill the lock relay and kill the whole game. But it's stuck open right now. So there's something going on. Now remember, I had this thing out before, so I didn't notice it then, and then whenever I put it back in I didn't notice it either. So it's sitting on something or whatever. So I got to figure that out. Once we get that back down where it's supposed to be, hopefully we'll be good to go. Alright, so it literally was just stuck. So all I did was just push it back down and now it seems good. Now I'm going to just lightly wrap it. Keep it knocking, but you can't come in. Keep it knocking, but you can't come in. If you hit it that hard, it would knock the game off. So we're going to test it. Holy moly, that might have fixed it. All right, let's give it a try. Well, it sounds like we started up, and then you heard something go boom. It simultaneously tested our new bell, which worked fine. Previous video, if you didn't see that. It locked on, and then I got to test our kickoff switch before it burnt something up. Fantastic. So the reason that it locked that chime on probably is because something's stuck on the playfield. So it says 10 points, so something that's 10 points must have locked on. So let's see if you see anything 10 pointy locking on. I don't see nothing. The kick switch is working. Okay, so our 10-point relay, for whatever reason, is locking on. Something on the playfield stuck. It's going to be one of these 10-point switches or something. Let me look real close, real quick, just to make sure it's nothing obvious. So let's see. Do you see it? I could probably see it from way over here. I'll bet there's something in this area. Let's see. Oh, look. Look, it's the same exact problem that was going on in the score reels. The little blade on the 10-point switch is leaning over and it's hitting the wrong blade. Look at that. As you can see, although that switch is open, it is in fact closed because of the little metal piece. Come on, people. If the switch... People, you can't do this. If the switch is... Okay, so let's say that the switch is 2 blades, okay? Now, whenever they touch, it's connected. But if it's touching, it's... People, they got to not be... Come on, people. Come on now. Come on, people. If they're touching, they're not... It's supposed to be open when it's not touch. It should have 2... It should be either... Come on now. Come on, people. You can't do this. It should be open or closed. It can't be closed and closed. All right, one more time, this time with feeling. Now, we don't have any lights on the back, but nothing's locked on. Let's see if it released the ball. Come on now. It did release the ball. This is one of the old ones with a manual ball elevator. Okay. Let's holy! Oh man, I can't believe it. By the way, these are all... We haven't done the playfield yet, so these all need work. Right? We're going to do all that. It ain't working great, but it's working. For the first time since 1960. I always like to pretend that they've been broken since they were built, right? This is the first time since 1960 that this thing's worked. Look at that, even the ball elevator's getting better. This time I'm gonna play it with just the right flipper. I flipped it. Wow. It's coming back, people. It's coming back to life. All right, so leave your comments below. I hope you enjoyed it so far. Next time, maybe we'll work on the playfield a little bit. We got to get that a little better. I don't like playing them a lot whenever they're all filthy like this because the ball's just going to grind dirt in and, you know, all of that. So, well, we need to do some work on the playfield, obviously. Before we play it, of course, we got all the backlights that we need to figure out what's going on with that. They may just all be burnt out, but we'll figure it out. So it needs a little bit of help still. We'll do that on another video. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you think so far. I think that was pretty cool. Had a good little video today. Went a little long. But other than that, pretty cool. And make sure, folks, now, if you like this, make sure to check out my brother Donnie. Some of you haven't even done it yet. We work on these old pinball machines, arcade games, jukeboxes. My brother Donnie works on arcade... he's actually building some of our arcade games, by the way. But he works on old trucks. We've got a couple old buildings that he's trying to fix up to rent out. And he's filming a lot of that stuff. I'm over there with him a lot, so check out his channel, my brother Donnie. The link is down below. I'll see you over there. But I'll see you on this channel next time when we work on the playfield a little bit. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good evening.